Here on the Colour of Country Life, Flow FM, we're speaking with the man who's now the Deputy Premier of South Australia, Dan van Holst Pellekaan. Congratulations on your appointment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ricky, and thanks for having me on your program.
Not a problem. We do hear from you often elsewhere on Flow, which is much appreciated, and we do like to pick up on what's happening locally in your area. We'll come back to that in a moment, but becoming Deputy Premier, are you happy with the circumstances with Vickie Chapman stepping down?
Oh, well, look, I mean, she's stepped down and that created a vacancy. Would I prefer that, the opposition had sort of put a bit of a kangaroo court together to give her a hard time with such effect? Well, yes, I would prefer that, but the reality is that there was a vacancy and myself and another colleague put our hands up for it. And I was elected Deputy Premier, and now we move on back to work and do the best we can for South Australia.
Well, and there'll be a state election in 4 months. It's going to help you, I suspect, in the electorate where you might be facing Jeff Brock. I think you're certainly facing Jeff Brock in the seat of Stewart.
Yeah, we have an unusual situation. The seat of Stewart and the seat of Frome, in fact, have had very, very significant boundary changes so that where I live and where he lives, my main population centre in Port Augusta and his in Pirie have been put together in the same electorate, a newly formed electorate of Stewart, which means two sitting MPs are competing to be re-elected in the same seat, and that's pretty unusual. But look, I worked in Port Pirie for 3 years immediately before being elected to Parliament. I'm actually in Port Pirie right now, as it happens, very comfortable here. And while I don't underestimate the challenge facing me at all, I'm up to it, and I put my best foot forward to try and be re-elected.
Yeah, the electorate sounds like it's a bit of a Brady Bunch situation. Sort of the two of you had to come together and share the electorate.
Yeah, look, the Electoral Commission does that independent of government and opposition or MPs. Everybody gets to put their views in. But at the end of the day, once the Electoral Commission has, released its final boundaries, that's exactly what it is. There's no point going back. I would be incredibly pleased, incredibly fortunate to represent the people of Port Augusta, Port Pirie, Crystal Brook, Peterborough, Southern Flinders Ranges, Northeast Pastoral, etc., etc. If I'm re-elected, no complaints from me whatsoever. It'll be a fair fight, and the people will choose.
Now, the Labor Party, before we get to some portfolio matters, they have had a bit of a dig at you. Whether it's in reference to your basketball history, I'm not sure. They keep referring to the City Stadium or City Entertainment Facility as the $660 million basketball stadium. They say you support that and don't support Country Health, if I can paraphrase their argument. What is your view on that stadium and Country Health?
Well, you're accurate in paraphrasing their argument, Ricky. You've done that just right. Their argument is absolute rubbish. What's going on down there in Adelaide, or what's planned for down there in Adelaide, is another extension of the convention centre. Liberal and Labor governments have done that over a very, very long time now. The Labor government did that during their term. It's just a natural progression in the same way as we upgrade our facilities in country areas as well. To suggest that I don't support Country Health is absolute rubbish. I could think of stronger words, but wouldn't use them on your program, Ricky.
No, we certainly couldn't air them here on Flow, I suspect, if they're the words I'm thinking of. Let's just move quickly to your press release today about mineral exploration for South Australia. I want to touch on Leigh Creek in a moment, but what have you announced today in terms of this accelerated exploration opportunity?
Yeah, look, it's actually a fantastic program. It's an extension of an existing program, the Accelerated Discovery Initiative. There's government co-funding with exploration companies in the mineral sector for new and innovative types of exploration techniques, which unlock new opportunities. The reason it's so important to do this is that exploration is actually the key. You need exploration today so that you can have a mine in 10 or 15 years. Most exploration is not fruitful. It doesn't lead to mines, but you just need to keep doing it if you want to get mines. And they are so important for our state's economy. I'm very aware and participate actively in some of the challenges that go with them with regard to environment, and making sure that those standards are addressed. And with regard to landholders, I place myself right in the middle of those difficult conversations. But we need to support this industry so it can support the economy, so that the royalties can be used for hospitals and schools and roads and disability services and on and on.
And on the Leigh Creek Urea Project, I've spoken with them previously about the great opportunities about expanding the operations at Leigh Creek. I guess they're not looking for government investment, but they've got a bunch of environmental approvals to go through, and we cover a lot of farming areas with our coverage, and the fertiliser costs at the moment are huge. Is there some ways the state government can help at least ensure the environmental approvals don't hold up what could be an important project for farmers?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic to have a new urea producer in South Australia. That would just change so many things for croppers around the state and other parts of Australia. But we can't short-circuit the environmental protection that's required for an operation like this. We can't say, look, we'll speed it up, turn a blind eye, go a bit easy, just because we'd love to have your business operating. There are processes for them to go through, and actually, Ricky, the stage they're at the moment is actually far more about cultural heritage than it is about environment. They're working through that process. We are helping them the very best that we can, but at the end of the day, it's up to the company to provide the information to the government which the government requests. I know they're working very diligently to try and do that, but when they give us that information and when they have met some of the challenges they need to with regard to environment and cultural heritage, then we assess that information as quickly as we can.
Now, they've pivoted away from energy projects to a urea producing project. On the energy front, one of your portfolios, the Energy Market Commission report that came out, I think yesterday, indicated maybe SA wasn't moving as quickly into savings as other states were, and Labor tried to say things were not looking so great on the energy cost front. What's the government's take on SA consumers' energy costs?
Yeah, well, look, again, Ricky, that's a trying to be cute or trying to be clever attempt from the opposition. We've consistently, including when we were in opposition, we've used the Essential Services Commission of South Australia's figures, independent from government, independent from opposition, focused on South Australia. They do work on this all the time. We've consistently used exactly the same figures for household electricity costs, and they show without any doubt that in the last 2 years before the election, electricity prices went up $477 under Labor, and in the last three and a bit years since the election, they've come down $303. Now, what the opposition is trying to do is bring in information or suggested information from an entirely different report. It does not contradict anything I'm saying, because it's actually out into the future. So we've delivered. There's no doubt about that. It's out into the future. And importantly, it's talking about what's going to happen in 2-3 years down the track. And it does not, and it's very clear, it does not take into consideration the new interconnector with New South Wales, which will provide another $100 per year saving. Now, that's not a fault of the report. They say very clearly that they're not taking that into consideration, but that is going to be built. Contracts have been signed. It's underway. And so there's another $100 a year per saving that's actually not included in the report that the Labor opposition is using. But let me say again, they're just not comparing apples with apples. They're just trying to be a bit cute and clever.
Now, the guys at the Sports Show Last Question have asked me to check in with you. You played with the Hobart Devils, if I've got this correct, in the NBL, whether you've got a view on the new Jack Jumpers coming into the league.
Well, look, as a former player, and yes, I did a very, very long time ago. The guys on the Sports Show must have a good memory. I played 4 seasons from 85 to 88 when the NBL was really roaring. Fantastic time to play. I was no star player, but I was good enough to be there for 4 seasons and loved it. So as a former player, it's pretty exciting to think that they're back in the league. I will remain a 36ers fan, But I really, really wish the new Jack Jumpers team, every success.
Well, Minister, thanks so much for your time and taking that question. Much appreciated. We'll catch you again soon.
Yeah, look, my pleasure. It's lovely to come on, Flo. I really appreciate it. You do a great job, guys. Thank you, Ricky.